Hello friends, my name is Garrett Wolf, and today on the channel we're going to talk about financial independence and retiring early, or otherwise known as the FIRE movement. For me, this journey is much more about the financial independence than the retiring early. I enjoy finding ways to contribute to society, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. I think my whole life I'll find different ways to be able to give back to my community, both small and at large. So financial independence for me and for a lot of people is just about being able to give back on my terms when I want to and in the best way that I see fit. For other people, that may be finding a nice cabin in the woods or going and retiring on a beach and enjoying your life that way. So I think the important part about financial independence is being able to fully dictate your life on your terms and do things when you want to and how you want to. I broke the FIRE journey down into 9 stages that are pretty easy to plot your path on your journey to FIRE. So with that, let's get started. Stage 1. This is having a negative net worth. This is where most of us start in life. We are born into some life situation and generally are reliant on someone else to take care of us. Someone else has to pay for everything. We start off as a dependent of someone else, and this can all the way go through the end of school, whether that's public school or if we're going to college, that might be we start to get dependent on a bank because we take out school loans. We might take out credit card debt, car debt, housing loan, money owed to friends, all the different ways that we are dependent on other people and have not yet made it to net zero. So we still owe more money to other people or institutions than we ourselves are worth. And this stage is really where I have spent most of my life. I went to college right out of high school, and it took me 6 years to finish. And I ended up having to take out student debt because of that. And that student debt is still with me now. I have not paid that off yet because currently you don't have to make any payments, and it makes more sense to have that money funneled into other investments. And so far that has been a smart decision. And so far that decision seems to have paid off. Stage number 2. This is net worth 0. And if you have made it this far, congratulations, because it is really hard. A lot of people out there are working really hard to get you to buy things, especially with money that you don't have. This is net worth 0. This means that your assets and your liabilities added together equal 0. So you can still have some debt, but the assets that you have balance out to make your net worth 0. This means that you have paid off your debt to society, or could if you wanted to, and that everything from here is really yours to keep, and now you are building your wealth and your future. For me, that got started with crypto mining, and I started crypto mining in order originally to pay off my student debt. And from there, it has just continued to make me money and gotten me on the path of wanting to build a better financial future for myself. Before that, I thought that it was going to be a really hard task, but having another income source has really made it a lot more doable and a lot more exciting. Stage 3, building an emergency fund. Building an emergency fund was probably the least favorite stage for me because it's kind of the least exciting. It's like the money that you have that ideally and hopefully you will never touch unless it's an emergency. But this has been one of the most useful and freeing feelings of having an emergency fund, to know that you have that backup, that if you lose your job, that you can't make it to work, if you get sick, if your car breaks down, that you are covered and that is not anything that will put you back into debt. It is important to build up that buffer. That will give you so much peace of mind and allow you to go into the future and really reach towards these loftier goals without the fear that you're not going to have a place to live, that you're not going to have transportation, that you're not going to be able to eat. Building an emergency fund, while not the funnest step, brings so much peace of mind that it is absolutely worth building an emergency fund and not skipping this step. Often an emergency fund is touted as 3 months of your expenses or 6 months of your expenses, but whatever it is that would make you feel comfortable. For me, that's 3 months of expenses because my job is pretty steady and that I know I have other income coming on the side that I would be able to get on my feet in 3 months if something were to happen to my job. I know other people that have more of like a contractor or independent business, their own business venture that have more along the lines of 6 months to a year in advance, because that could be their time frame for building up a new business or starting a new income stream. At this point in life, I was working for an ambulance company, and when I finally built up my emergency fund was when I got a job that actually paid a little bit more, and I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck and trying to buy food on my credit card because I didn't have enough in the paycheck I just got paid to cover that. So for me, that's what it took to build an emergency fund, was finding a job that paid better, because the job I was in, no matter how much overtime I would work, just simply was not paying enough money to live comfortably and to help me achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve. Stage 4, invest your first $10,000. Although the number itself is very personal to each individual, I chose $10,000 because to see a 5-figure account with your name on it is pretty special, and something that you can show for your hard work and look at and say, I did this. Like, my time and energy went into building this. And if you've never had that before, is a pretty cool feeling. $10,000 was also double my emergency fund, and so that was also a nice number to shoot for. But this number can be different from you, but set a number that you'd like to achieve in investing and make that your stage 4. The idea here is that you have now put away a sizable chunk of your money into something like cryptocurrency, the stock market, index funds, something where your money is now working for you every day. So every day that money will be making money for you. And down the road, that $10,000 or however big that chunk of money is that you decided to invest will be bigger and bigger and bigger as the road goes down without you having to do any work. You already put in the work, and now that money will just grow. For example, if you put that money into the S&P 500 with an estimated return of 7%, which is what everyone seems to reference, and you included an estimated 3% inflation, which, even though inflation is growing right now, there are also times with negative inflation, so I think that'll balance out in the future. With all that included, that $10,000 would make you $1 a day for the rest of your life, which is huge, right? To have that money coming in no matter what you're doing until the day that you take that money out is a pretty cool feeling. Stage 5, when your passive income from your investments covers your food. This stage to me felt very freeing. To know that I could keep this money in my investments, and hypothetically, this investment would then be able to buy me food for the rest of my life. That felt freeing, knowing that I could have enough money stashed away that I would never have to worry about starvation. I have never in my life faced that personally, which I am very grateful for, but it feels really good to know that I would have a safety net that would allow me to at least eat. If I didn't have a place to live, I could at least have food to fill my belly and still have that investment, have that growth set for the future. So that was a pretty big step for me. This number will vary for everyone based on what you eat and where you live. Clearly those costs vary wildly across the world and across the country. For me, that number is about $10 a day. So this will also vary wildly on your investments. All different kinds of investments have all different kinds of returns. For me, using something like the Crypto.com prepaid debit card and stable coins like USDC earning 12%, I would need just over $40,000 in stable coins, which would pay me out weekly, and that would be enough to cover my food completely. And all of these numbers include the 3% inflation included in them. So if you weren't including inflation, then the numbers needed to achieve this amount would be even lower. If you wanted to earn $10 a day investing in something like the S&P 500, then you would need about $91,000 invested in the S&P 500 to return $10 a day. Stage 6, passive income covers basic expenses. So this step is the step that I am working on now. I still have a long way to go, but I still have quite a long time to get there. Crypto mining income is helping me along that journey. And if I was to be able to have that forever, then I could probably say my expenses are covered. But I am banking that crypto mining will not be around forever, especially Ethereum mining, which who knows when it will actually end. But if I'm counting on the 6 months, like a lot of people are currently saying, then I will have to find some other way to have a passive income to then reach that full goal of my expenses covered. At this stage, you would hypothetically have all of your like main basic expenses covered that you need to live. It wouldn't be a glamorous life, but it would at least cover all the basic necessities. For me, that is shelter, reliable transportation, food, clean water, phone, internet, and utilities. And that is about $1,500 a month, or about $50 a day. I would need about $200,000 in a stablecoin account, like earning 12%, like with Crypto.com's account, or I would need about $450,000 invested into the S&P 500. So this would return $1,500 a month. This would also be enough to comfortably retire on as an expat or expatriate. If, for me, who lives in the United States, you can then move to a country with a lower cost of living and live pretty comfortably there. I know people that do that and live a little bit simpler life, but really enjoy having their complete free time to do whatever they want with. You could even keep your same standard of living. You could achieve the same standard of living that you have here. It would just cost a lot less. Not everyone wants to go to another country and give up all the family and friends and community they've met here, but I've heard very promising things about expat communities being very inviting to others that are willing to join, and really you could make friends everywhere. The world overall is a pretty loving place, and most people want to find and build community. Stage 7, Barista Fire. At this stage, just above stage 6 for me, you have enough money to cover all the expenses for living the life that you want to live, and to cover all the remaining expenses and to save more money for the future, and maybe even cover healthcare. If, for me, like in the US, healthcare is often tied to your job. You can get a part-time job to make up the remaining difference of that. The benefit of this is that you are then working reduced hours while still being able to live the lifestyle that you want, and then still have enough and be saving enough for the future and still have healthcare. My current job, for example, working in the ER, you can work part-time and still have full-time benefits. So if I wanted to, I could cut down to part-time hours and still have all those benefits, still be saving money, and still have enough money to cover all my expenses, but have more free time to do the things I enjoy. This number will be different for everyone, depending on your lifestyle and your spending habits. But for me, that number is about $2,000 a month, or $67 a day. And this would require about $266,000 in a stablecoin account, or $640,000 invested into something like the S&P 500. Stage 8, Lean Fire. At this stage, we have enough money to cover a pretty modest lifestyle, which for me, I'd say is really the end goal. A lot of people quote a number like $40,000 a year, but for me, honestly, like $40,000 a year would be perfect. That equals out to living off of $110 a day, or $3,300 a month. For me, this would be enough to eat well and travel and spend time with people that I love, and still be able to maintain the hobbies I love and explore new hobbies that I haven't yet discovered. I don't have children, and I don't plan on having any children, so that is a factor in having such a low cost of living. In a stablecoin account making 12% a year, this would require about $450,000. Or if you were to put it into something like a stock market, that's where you get this quoted number of $1 million. Some quick math to find out how much you need to save if you wanted to live off something like the S&P 500 is to take your yearly expenses and multiply it by 25. So 40,000 times 25 gives you a 1 million. If you wanted to live off $80,000 a year, then that number would be more like $2 million. Stage 9, Fat Fire. This stage is where you have enough money coming in that you no longer are living frugally, but can really have lavish vacations and have very expensive things and really not worry about money too much. For me, this isn't really a goal that I am striving for. It would be nice to have. It would be, I'm sure, very fun to get there. And for me, it would really just lead to more luxury and probably more customizability in my life. For me, I honestly consider anything much above Lean Fire to be Fat Fire. It's not what I'm aiming for, but if I get there, great. If I had to put a number to it, for me, I would probably be living off about $200 a day, which is about $6,000 a month or about $73,000 a year. And this would require about $800,000 in a stablecoin account, making 12% a year, or $1,825,000 in something like the S&P. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. Make sure to go out and spread love, and I will see you guys next time.